Community, my Sangha, I hope you're having an amazing day. While we watch this ride along, I just want to read a little bit from the guided meditations on the stages of the path. There's this little section about waking up in the morning that really touched me, so I wanted to share it with my Sangha. Waking up in the morning. The way we wake up in the morning is very important as it influences our moods and feelings during the rest of the day. These in turn affect our motivations, and our motivations are the chief factor in the kind of karma we create during the day. Our mind is especially subtle in the morning, so whatever we encounter or think has a strong effect. If we wake up to music, that melody may float through our mind when we later sit down to meditate. If we wake up to the radio news, 15 people killed in Iraq, or the CEO of Enron convicted, or internet pornography ring discovered, we will likely go through the day feeling despair about the world's situation. Or we may tune it out and feel apathetic about others. Neither of these attitudes is conducive for spiritual progress. Therefore, it's important to wake up as peacefully as possible and immediately direct our minds in a constructive way. By practicing this repeatedly now, when we wake up to our next life, we will be much more likely to generate a positive motivation at that time as well. Right away, when you wake up, think, how wonderful! I still have a precious human life with the opportunity to practice the Dharma. I take refuge in my spiritual mentors and in the three jewels, the Buddhas, Dharma, and Sangha. Then contemplate, the most important thing I have to do today is avoid harming others as much as possible. Another important thing is to help others as much as I am able, in any way, whether large or small. The third important element is the intention in aspiring to attain full enlightenment in order to be able to benefit all sentient beings most effectively, foremost in my heart, and to do all actions with this as my long-term motivation. At first, this motivation may seem strange because according to our usual way of thinking, the most important thing to do today is to meet a certain client, to pick the kids up from school, or to clean out the garage. But if you think about it, we do these activities and then forget about them. In a year, we won't even remember having done them. In addition, we're not usually thinking of everyone's long-term benefit when we engage in these daily activities. Rather, we are thinking of what will make our life easier and how we will profit. Our motivation for doing any of the activities we engage in is critical. Thus, remembering not to harm others, to help them, and to hold them dear are most important in any activity we do during the day. In this way, all our activities become beneficial for both ourselves and others and lead to enlightenment. By setting our motivation strongly in the morning when our mind is fresh and clear, we are much more likely to remember it during the day and act with that intention. In addition, picking something that happens frequently during the day to act as a kind of mindfulness bell or trigger to bring us back to our positive motivation is very helpful. For example, every time you stop at a stoplight, come back to your breath and remember being peaceful. Every time the phone rings, pause and remember selfless love before you answer it. One person told me that her trigger was her child calling mommy. She would pause, breathe, and remember her good intention, and then attend to her child. Doing this helped her not only spiritually, but also in the moment, for she could care for her child in a calm manner. I hope this brings my beautiful community some peace and maybe a new way of waking up in the mornings, trying to start our day with a peaceful headspace. I love you all. We are always loved, guided, and protected.